For some time, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been leading a public interest in doing something about the climate crisis pretty much throughout this year, often in conjunction with groups like the Sunrise Movement, some other good politicians on this issue. And man, every time she brings it up, she ends up getting attacked. Here is a recent right-wing group that tweeted out a video about her recent commentary on the topic.
Shallow Thoughts with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
You think overhauling our economy to decarbonize and save the planet is going to be expensive? Try not decarbonizing our economy and allowing sea levels to rise, every coastal city to go underwater, every Midwestern city or large swaths of the middle of the country experiencing drought on a level that we have not seen. That's going to be way more expensive. You think artificially having to create our food supply because the earth no longer can sustain growing foods naturally, or the sun is scorching the earth so much that we can't grow the foods that we used to be able to grow, that's going to be a lot more expensive. So we need to bite the bullet on the cost, because the alternative to not spending the money is A, death, and B, spending even more money.
And so that was sent out about her. She did respond to it on Twitter saying, "I love everything about this GOP attack ad. Republicans underestimate my intelligence because I invite people into my home and talk about policy in plain English instead of DC jargon. They think that's dumb, so they end up paying for ads that spread and explain our policy positions."
So I love this, and there's so many great ideas. First of all, Republicans are like, "Oh, you know, AOC is not smart." You are a follower and supporter of Donald Trump.
Mr. Hamburger.
He's a genius.
Okay, hilarious. Okay, but now the second irony, they're like, "Can you believe she believes 99% of the world's scientists?" That's so stupid. Obviously, all the scientists are wrong. Who's with me? God, you guys, you're such mouth breathers. And it's so hilarious to see you bathe in your ignorance and say, "No, I've got it figured out, and ExxonMobil's got it figured out, and the Koch brothers do. But all the scientists are wrong, and everybody else is wrong. And even though we can see the temperature rising for the last 17 years straight, even though the snow forest of Alaska is currently on fire, and so is an area the size of Vermont in Siberia, I don't see it. Can you believe they think it's climate change? They're so stupid." I mean, come on. I mean, I'm not allowed to make that voice, right? But that's fine. That's almost all remaining conservatives. And I can say that as a former Republican. Look, I'm gonna get into a little bit here of another attack against Greta Thunberg and AOC, and an interesting part of that, an epiphany I had about it. But there's another former conservative here, and that's Matt. So look, am I being too mean here, or what's your take on their climate denial?
Well, I mean, this ad reminded me exactly of that Fox News graphic that they put up on the screen one time that was like, AOC favors, free college, health care for everyone, raising taxes on rich people. Like, those are all positions that Americans agree with. And so, but the thing is, right-wingers, they don't understand anything about polls. I literally, part of why I stopped being one was I was like, look guys, this is what the data shows. Maybe you should change your positions to, or at least modify how you talk about stuff. And they're like, no, people agree with us. Look, Ronald Reagan won in 1984. Like that, they literally say that. The people who made that ad literally said that very statement to me.
So no, I want you to understand how literal it is. Matt used to work at the Media Research Center that did that ad.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you didn't make this one, did you?
No, like literally, those guys have said to me, Ronald Reagan won in 1984, so therefore we don't need to change anything we do or how we talk about stuff.
Yeah, the person who agrees with them is Nancy Pelosi. Ryan Grimm writes about this in his excellent book, We've Got People, which you can get on shoptyt.com. You could also get this I Wrote the Damn Bill t-shirt there. anyways, he talks about how the Democrats are stuck in the 1980s where they got their ass handed to them by Reagan, and they're like, oh my God, Republicans are right about everything. Look, 76% of the country wants to raise taxes on the rich.
Yeah.
So and Matt's right, when Fox News puts that up, 3/4 of the country goes, oh, that sounds pretty good. Who said that? AOC? Oh, that's pretty good.
And,
right?
Yeah, and by the way, I wrote, so I went and I was working at the Hill before I moved out to California. I wrote the first poll question about AOC's tax plan, and we found that number. Like, we kicked it all off, and all these other news organizations were like, oh, wow, look at that. Let's do it ourselves. Yeah. And they confirmed the same thing we found. So, but the thing is, right-wingers never read polls, and so they don't understand that everyone hates what they think is so great.
And one of the things that's distressed me a lot over the past few years is the rising, at least on social media. I know that Twitter's not representative of literally anything, but the number of people who don't think that polls are real. I don't mean like a particular poll, like taking issue with methodology, the sampling of one poll. I mean, they don't think that polls are a thing. Like fundamentally, they think, oh, nationally representative 2,000 people? 2,000 people, I wasn't one of them. Like honestly, they have no idea what it is.
No. Like I used to run a TV show about polls, and I'll tell you, we got all the time on Twitter, I never knew anyone who's been polled. I've never been polled. Yeah. Fake news.
Exactly, yeah, and that's why there are bad polls, individual bad polls. I hesitate to break those down because I don't want to play into the ignorance that leads to people thinking that all polls are untrue. The 2016 election, I think, caused a lot of people to falsely believe that polls don't work because they think, well, everybody was saying that Hillary was definitely going to win and Trump ended up winning the Electoral College. And so the polls are wrong, even though the polls nationally were saying Hillary was up by like 2 or 3 points and she won by 2 or 3 points nationally. Everybody thinks that polls are BS because of 2016.
And by the way, I warned you about Pennsylvania because the polls showed that Trump was really close in Pennsylvania. So that was also true. All right, look, last two things that are really important here, and both about ignorance, including mine. So the Republicans celebrate ignorance, so that's why they don't agree with all the world scientists. That's why they attack professors, because they bring you knowledge. They attack polls, because it brings you facts. They attack the media, because from time to time they bring you facts. So anything that brings you facts, knowledge, they attack, because they want it to be replaced by their propaganda. Now, to my ignorance, as I was reading a great story from the New Republic called The Misogyny of Climate Deniers, and how much they attacked the young Swedish girl Greta Thunberg, who's now gotten some fame for fighting against the climate crisis and AOC. I realized why I used to participate in that 25 years ago, back when I was a Republican. And it has to do with, and the thrust of the article is, why are climate deniers the same subgroup as misogynists? It's such a weird combination. Why do those circles overlap so much? And I think I know because I used to be a Republican, and this is a funny and embarrassing thing to admit, but back then I was not as successful with women, and that bred insecurity, and that insecurity caused a person to lash out and try to be more fake macho, right? Oh yeah, being in favor of climate change, that's weak, right? Being in, like, I remember, I've told you guys this recently, making fun of myself, my past self in a sense. I didn't believe mold was real. Like what a bizarre thing to not believe. But there was this sense of bathing in ignorance was macho, right? Caring about the world is feminine. Caring about other people is feminine. And feminine is bad because they're rejecting me. So I have to fight against that. And the more success that I had in dating, the more liberal I became, because not because like, oh, okay, women softened me up or anything like that. It's more like I dropped the insecurity and the lack of confidence. And once you have a normal, healthy degree of confidence, you're like, wait, why am I being weirdly so-called macho, which is in a lot of cases misogynistic? Why am I lashing out at facts? What a weird thing to do. Well, and it's born out of insecurity.
Well, and it's a great point, and it's actually borne out by a lot of other people's experience as well, actually, because if you look at so the rise of white nationalism in the Republican Party, there's like different vectors of how they've all come together. One is through the Ron Paul people, former Ron Paul worshipers. But also, there's a big contingent that came out of the manosphere of the dating blog sites, where they would go and tell that these were hucksters and fraudsters who would make money telling men who couldn't get a date and say, "Look, pay me money, and I'll tell you how to get laid." But what's been really amazing is that so many of these scammers and hucksters who were doing this stuff to men, they have now become Nazis.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.